I am here with Simon Fisher-Becker. How are you going?
Absolutely delightful. My first time in Auckland, and I'm finding it a very pretty city. And I'm gobsmacked at all the friendliness that's around.
You're here for the Armageddon Expo. Do you have any idea what you'd be expecting there?
Well, if it's anything like the Melbourne Expo, yes. I'm expecting 50,000 screaming fans, giggling, laughing, crying, and perhaps fainting and having an asthma attack. But it'll be lots of fun, that's what I'm expecting.
And you're, of course, from Doctor Who and Harry Potter, among other things. And what would you say is your role that most people would know you from?
I have to agree that most people would know me as Dorium from Doctor Who, because over the course of 30 years, most of my TV and film work has ended up on the cutting room floor. But I've earned a very good living appearing in nothing. So most people know me from Doctor Who, for which I'm very grateful. I went for an audition. 7 other roly-polies went for an audition, and I was the chosen one. And as a result, I'm talking to Tylor on a sofa in Auckland. It's bizarre.
How long does it take you to put all that blue paint on you?
Not long. They allow 2 hours, but it doesn't really take 2 hours. When I did the read-through for the Pandorica Opens, Stephen Moffat asked if I would actually have my head shaved rather than wear a skull cap, to which, of course, I agreed. But when they shaved my head, we found that the back of my head in particular looks like an ugly fruit. So the idea of not looking as if I got a skull cap went right out the window. But they shaved my head, they put on a barrier cream, and painted me blue. It's as simple as that.
How long did it take for your hair to grow back?
Oh, months, actually. I mean, for a long time it was very short, like a number 1 crew cut. And then gradually the spikes came up, and it was all uncontrollable. I couldn't do anything with these spikes at all. I put some mousse in to think I could try and scoop it over, but all that happened was these spikes became harder and harder. So I looked like the head of a broom. Could turn me upside down and sweep the kitchen floor.
And in Harry Potter, you were in the first one as the Fat Friar, and you were a ghost.
Yes.
How was that done? Because you were transparent. How did they actually do that?
Okay, now this is going back to, I said that a lot of stuff ends up on the cutting room floor. Well, all the ghosts were booked for the first 4 films. We were contracted to do the first 4 films, and we're all very excited. And we filmed stuff over a 4.5-week period. 18 scenes, including the Death Day party. So those of you who know the books know the Death Day party, and you will also know that it doesn't appear in any of the films. And so anyone who says they know Harry Potter through the films, I say, you don't know Harry Potter. Right? And so what's happened, I'm very lucky. Rick Mail was Peeves, the poltergeist, and he got cut out altogether. But I managed to stay for about 7 seconds at the sorting ceremony in the first film. And my punchline to that story is that my name is on screen longer than I am as a result. But the actual process was very straightforward. It was sort of green screen and blue screen. We were all hung up on steel wires about 20 feet above the ground and did whatever we were asked to do. And John Cleese wasn't available when we did most of our stuff. So anything we did as if we were talking to John Cleese was in fact a stick with a cross on it. And that was it, all very straightforward.
Now, going back to Doctor Who, there was a episode where you pretty much just a head in a box. How was that done?
Oh, it was very straightforward, really. The plinth that everybody sees the box on was filmed first, and then that was removed out of the way, and then a giant box was put in its place. I stuck my head out the top, and they covered the box in green baize, and then they put Dorium's box on top of my head. And that's it. Straightforward. Very claustrophobic.
How long were you stuck like that for?
2 days. We did 2 days of filming. It was really good fun, I have to say. It wasn't until they put the box on my head that I realised I couldn't hear properly. And also, when I talk, I tend to talk using my hands all the time. And of course, I wasn't able to do that. And it was only then that it sort of dawned on me that I had to do everything with facial expression and volume. But because I couldn't hear properly, I had to sort of judge how much I could speak without it looking exaggerated. But that's when you rely on your team around you. So the sound crew would stick a thumb in front of me like that and go, it's fine. So that's how it worked.
Doctor Who is very, very popular, and the fans remember certain lines that lots of actors probably forget that they've even said. What's the line of dialogue that your character has done that people want you to say the most?
Well, actually, most people want to say, if you put them all in a room, they'd all want me to say my entire dialogue. There are different lines. So, for example, some people like the I'm old, I'm fat, I'm blue. Others like not cheap Dr. Song, have you brought me a pretty toy? Others say, I said off the wrist. And then, of course, there's the iconic line at the end, so which I'll probably do for you at the end of our interview. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. You know, dramatic effect there, you see.
And so I did a lot of research leading up to this interview, and I found that you have a story about someone coming up to you and wanting you to sign a photo as Matt Smith. Can you elaborate on that story?
Yeah, where did you dig that up? Yes, I was at Earl's Court in London, and somebody looked as if they wanted to come towards my table. They stepped forward, then step back, step forward, step back, which a lot of people do because they're too frightened to come and say hello, which is very sad. And I say to everybody, I fart like anybody else, so I'm an ordinary human being, feel to come up to me and say hello. Anyway, so I beckoned this guy, and he produced a photo of Matt Smith. And he said, can you sign that, Matt Smith? I said, I can't do that. He said, well, you're in Doctor Who. I said, yes, and I want to stay in Doctor Who too. And he said, go on, sign it. I said, no, I can't do that. It'll be a fake signature. You might as well sign it yourself. So he grabbed the photograph and stormed off and said, you. So there we go.
Oh dear.
Yeah. You get all sorts. Most of the fans are utterly, utterly delightful, and it's such good fun, and I could talk to them all day long. Some fans are very nervous, as I say, and they get tongue-tied and they start to faint. So I have to make sure I've got my first aid kit to one side. And then just occasionally you do get the occasional stalker and oddball like this chap at Earl's Court.
So you, in Doctor Who, you are blue, and in real life you're not. Do people still recognise you even when you're just yourself and not blue?
If they're Doctor Who fans, because they've done research like you, there is a chance that they will come up and say, excuse me, are you... And I get that far. I say, the head in the box, and they go, ah! Yeah, so... But generally, no, nobody notices me. I can get round the supermarket quite easily. Because I'm not, I've got hair and I'm not blue. It's a not very difficult concept, really, is it? Mind you, I because of Doctor Who, I don't go to many castings now, but occasionally I do, and I did turn up at one, and the casting director said, "You got hair?" I said, "Yes, I've always had hair." "You not got hair in the photograph I've got of you." And so the only photograph of me without hair is as Dorium, you see. So I said, well, I'm not blue either.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Not sad.
Yeah. But there we go. Such is life. No. And so in many ways, I'm the best of both worlds. You see, I come to these conventions and my ego is truly massaged. I can then go home and live a reasonably normal life and not have people wanting to stick photographs through my toilet window. So it's fine.
But does it help that you've been in Doctor Who? Do you like go to a restaurant and if they say, "Oh, we're full," you go, "Well, I've been in Doctor Who," and they go, "Oh, yeah, right this way." Anything like that?
You know, quite the reverse. Because generally, I've got several friends who keep on doing it, and it is quite embarrassing. We'll go to a restaurant, and they'll say to a waiter or say, "Do you know who he is?" I'll go, "No," and they'll say, "Do you watch Doctor Who?" Say, "No." So they have no idea who I am at all. It's very embarrassing. No. But what does help is if I go and say, "I'm Lord Fisher-Becker of William and Mona. Could I have a seat by the window, please?" And they do. And then they do. Silly arses. Yeah. Anyway, next question.
So I read here, and I've got here, that you are you're currently writing a 6-part comedy drama called My Dalek Has a Puncture, and it's a light-hearted account of your experiences leading up to being offered the role of Dorium. So
you got that a bit twisted. I'm writing a 6-part series called Canoe, which is partly autobiographical. It's the story of a group of people trying to run an art house. So it's the problem I've got is that it's both comedy and drama, and because it doesn't fit into any one category, people are now sort of saying, "Oh, you've got to change this and you've got to change that." But I will get it off the ground, definitely. Basically, it's quite sinister in parts, and the people who actually physically run the art house are quite funny characters. And it's all based on personal experience. The My Dalek Has a Puncture is my personal one-man show that I do at conventions. And you know at conventions they do panels. Generally speaking, if there's other Doctor Who actors, all of us are on the panel all at the same time. But occasionally I'm asked to do a panel by myself. So in those occasions I use my slideshow. And it is autobiographical because people have been coming up to me asking me if I've got an autobiography, which I never thought of writing, but now I do. And I have elements which covers basic questions that I'm generally asked at these panels. And basic questions are, how did you become an actor? What qualities do you need to become an actor? I want to be an actor, what do I have to do? And are there any aspects of you that you've brought to the character of Dorium? Those are the main questions I'm asked. So I cover that all in my slideshow. So it's very educational as well as very light-hearted, self-depreciating or deprecating, whichever phrase you want to use, and a good hoot. And then it has a Q&A session at the end of it. It's really good fun.
So you, like most people, would have grown up watching Doctor Who as a kid. What's some of your early memories watching Doctor Who as a kid?
Well, I was 2 when Doctor Who started, so I freely admit I don't recall the first episode. But I was about 5 when it was the back end of William Hartnell and him changing to Patrick Troughton. I remember that distinctly. And my family tell me that for weeks afterwards, I kept on asking, is that what happens when we die? Is that what happens when we die? So there was that. What else do I remember? The Mind Robber is the story that sticks in my mind. I think because at that sort of age, with Patrick Troughton, it was all still a wonderful fantasy. As I got a bit older, of course, then there was John Pertwee, and I really got into watching it intensely and then starting asking all sorts of questions. Tom Baker, of course, wonderfully lunatic, and liked jelly babies. So, and I loved them all. So from a kid, it's the Mind Robber is the story that sticks in my mind. The creatures that stick in my mind, for some reason, are the Sea Devils. But now I'm older, it's more sophisticated monsters like the Weeping Angels in Blink, and some more sophisticated stories like The Girl Who Waited by Tom McRae. Very, very good. And of course everything that has Dorium Moldovar.
What was going through your head when you walked onto the set of Doctor Who for the first time?
Yeah, I was a complete gibbering wreck. Really, it was at the read-through, really, because I was the only one in the room I didn't know. It was very frightening indeed. And the first person I met was Nicholas Briggs, who was very good. He was twiddling his knobs working out how to do his Cyberman and Dalek voices. I was talking to him. There was a tap on the shoulder. I turned round, and it was Matt Smith, who said, "Hello." He said, "Welcome aboard. I've seen your audition." I thought, bloody hell, right? And then Alex Kingston came in, and I was going, "Oh my God, it's Alex Kingston. She's going to talk to me. She's going to talk to me." I was like a 16-year-old. And her hair is fantastic. You want to just put your hands through it. And then she said, "Hello." She said, "I saw your audition." I thought they've rehearsed this, the bastards. And then Stephen Moffat came over, and he shook my hand, and he said, "Hello, welcome aboard. I'm so glad we managed to secure you." I thought, bloody hell, they think I'm someone else. That's my... I honestly... And I thought, oh, God. And then when it came to the read-through and I delivered my first line... Now, what was the first line? Oh, yes. "Word on the belt is you're looking for time travel," was my first line. They all burst out laughing. I thought, and there's me being very dramatic. I pooed myself. Yeah, no, it's very nerve-wracking indeed. But Alex Kingston was delightful, so I managed to get through that scene with her. And then, of course, when I was called back, it was like, you know, a long-lost brother coming back. And Matt Smith gave me a hug. And of course, the fan inside me was thinking, my God, the Doctor is hugging me. But he's absolutely delightful, sweet guy. Yeah, that's all I can say. It's a wonderful, wonderful time. I've got over the gibbering idiot phase now. I think if they ask me back, I'll be a little more sensible and coherent. But it is fascinating. And my best experience was when we did A Good Man Goes to War, seeing the TARDIS for the first time. I know it sounds very, very silly, but having been a fan for the best part of 50 years, actually seeing the blue box, I found quite emotional. And I put my hand out to touch it. I didn't quite kiss it, but it was very close to that. But very close indeed.
So, because Doctor Who is so popular and heaps of people want to know, you know, what's coming up on new episodes, what do they do when they hand out scripts to actors? Is it really secure? Do you have to do any sort of secret things with the script or anything to keep it under wrap?
Yes, I mean, it's unwritten code is you don't tell anybody what's going on. And, of course, half the time I have no idea what's going on either. So I have no idea what's gone on in previous episodes that I'm not in. And I'm too busy trying to remember the lines for the episode I'm in. And, of course, once they've done a read-through, they might want to rewrite some stuff. So you've got that going on as well. No, and it's best. See, I'm a fan. I don't really want to know what's going on beforehand. I know there are these fans who want to know everything instantly. No, wait until the episodes are screened. Then talk about it, because at least then you've got something definite to talk about. But... no, well, before we just don't talk about it. But there's lots of it's very funny. There's lots of projects I've been involved with where everything is supposed to be top secret, and then it's never screened. And you think, well, what was all the secrecy about? Oh dear. But then there are other projects that say, oh, please tell everybody as much as you can. So there you go.
Do they let you keep the scripts afterwards? Because I've heard of some productions that after a day of filming, all the actors have to go and give the scripts to someone who goes and shreds them and stuff.
No, in my case that didn't happen because the scripts were sent to me by email in the first place. Maybe the rewrites, so the script I would have on email is you know, the sort of first draft. But no, generally speaking, no, that's not happened to me as far as I know. Unless, so that's where that script went. No, as far as I know, I haven't been asked to hand scripts back.
Do they storyboard Doctor Who and you get to look at the storyboards or anything like that?
Yes, occasionally, particularly when there's multiple characters involved, to give you an idea of what's going on. Yes.
So I've got here the story that in March 2009 you were attacked at a petrol station by 3 youths and beaten badly, yes. And you were left with permanent damage to your spine and a damaged knee, yes. And which is why you now walk with a stick. Yes. And the attack meant that you were still recovering from your injuries in December and you could not appear in Panto, but as a result you were able for the casting to play Dorium. So would you say that that was a good thing that happened because you got the role of Dorium?
Well, yes, I do try and twist this. I've got permanent damage, and that's why I'm sitting awkwardly on the sofa now, because I'm comfortable now. God knows what I look like. I must look like a barrage balloon on screen. But yes, I've got permanent damage to my spine, and it is, I'm in constant pain. But it's something I now have to live with. But the flip side is, as you say, I was available for the audition for Dorium. I just wish the fates found it easier to tell me that I didn't have to be in Panto that year. It would be quite easy. I could have just not been offered it. But yes, that's it. I was available for Panto as a result. So in some ways, I would like to meet these thugs and shake their hands and say thank you very much. Then I'll throttle them. So there you go.
Were they ever caught or anything?
No, because the CCTV at the petrol station was just painted on. It was just a camera, and it wasn't actually connected to anything. So what I have is a letter from the police force telling me, or informing me, that I'm a victim of crime, which, quite frankly, I don't need. Right. Anything else you'd like to know about that?
Do you remember what they look like?
Sort of. I tell you what the only thing, because clearly deep down psychologically I'm still a bit damaged in that occasionally I trip and fall, and as I fall I get flashes of the attack. If I met one, I probably would recognise him. Yeah.
And by that point you were in Harry Potter, so did you say to them you're actually, beating up a Harry Potter star?
No. That was about 8 or 10 years earlier. No. It was actually the 22nd of March. And the 22nd of March is one of my nephew's birthday. And all I can remember saying is, I can't die on Carl's birthday. And I punched out. And I happened to land a punch on one of the faces, and they ran away. And the whole thing is totally ridiculous because I had £60 on me, and they weren't interested in it. At the time, and still it's sort of raising its head again now, there's a lot of publicity in the UK saying that fat people are going to bankrupt the NHS. You've also got these lunatic writers that say fat people are emotionally disturbed and should be treated under the Mental Health Act. Or jolly people have obviously got something to hide, so they too should be covered under the Mental Health Act. So I'm a fat, jolly guy, so I'm on a losing wicket from day one. So, no, it's complete nonsense. But the problem is you get these numbskulls, these brain deads, these hard-of-thinking people that think, fat guy, let's go and beat him up, without realising the true consequences. I'm now permanently damaged, but I just had to get through it. And I was talking to some colleagues because they were sort of expressing some sort of admiration. But no, I am damaged, but I'm not as damaged as some people. So, if I can do anything to help some disabled people realise that there is a place for them in society, as long as other people let them, it's fine. I don't ask for anything. I just ask for a little bit of consideration. Sometimes some people can be over keen to help you, and so that can become a little offensive. And I say, mothering can become smothering. But all I ask for is just a little consideration. I'm a little slower. On occasions I might need a wheelchair. I might need to stop, more often than other people. I am in pain, so if I wince, don't ignore it, but also don't keep on saying, are you okay? Are you okay? But otherwise, it's fine.
When I was doing all my research on you, I came across an ad. I have no idea what it was about because it was in another language, but I'm pretty sure it was you. It was on your, it was part of your showreel thing, I think. And it was you sitting down, eating a whole bunch of stuff. How much did you actually get to eat during that filming?
I know what you're talking about. Yes, that was some time ago. It must be about 2007 or 8 I did that. It was a commercial for a Swedish bank called Nordnet, which actually escaped all the financial crisis because it was a new bank, so it didn't have old debt. And the basic concept of the story was you got the large fat banker eating everybody's profits, or eating all the interest and keeping it to themselves. And Nordnet actually gives more to the customers. That's the way. So they had me as a fat banker sitting at a table, scoffing like some greedy bastard, as much as I could. How much did I eat? Not as much as you think, because a lot of it actually wasn't real food. It was only the top layers or something. But it was good fun, and only had to do it a couple of times. So it was cool. But I was told to go for it, so I did. Yeah, I mean, there's another example that generally I'm cast if FAT is written in front of the character reference. If they just wanted a bank manager, they wouldn't have thought of me at all. But as they wanted a fat bank manager, I got quite high on the list. So there you go.
So, because you are, fat, if you do decide to lose the weight and become really muscly or not even muscly, just lose the weight, would they have to, and you come back as Dorium, would they not let you, be that thin because it would affect Dorium's look, or what would happen?
I don't know, really. That's up to Stephen Moffat and the prophet. They might decide to put in a line or two that, Dorium fell into some radiation thing and half of him melted. I have no idea. To be honest, ironically, I actually get more work than most of my thin friends, but that's because I'm in a smaller pond. Fat people, there aren't too many fat people of my age who have kept at it. They would have given up, you see. So, I don't know, really. It does make me laugh because, I mean, society says fat people are a problem, but equally some skinny people can be a problem too, particularly if they've got an eating disorder. And most of my thin friends are forever talking about food. For Christ's sake, they're sitting eating their breakfast and they're telling you what they're going to have for lunch and what they're thinking of having for dinner. Whereas, believe it or not, I very rarely think about food. I'm on the downside, maybe, I will accept that I'm so busy doing what I'm doing, I forget that I've eaten. And then when I say, oh my God, it's 4 o'clock, I haven't eaten, then I do feel hungry. I will deny you that. But the assumption is that I'm sat on a sofa like here, so it's all day long, watching the television, chain-eating Mars bars. And I don't particularly like Mars bars, but I do agree to the occasional tub of Haagen-Dazs. Ice cream. But, it's a lunatic, really. And what about, so you see, if all the fat people went, what would happen to all the chubby chasers? There are a lot of chubby chasers out there. Male and female chasing me up the street. It's quite exciting at times. What would happen to them? I'll tell you what would happen to them. They'd end up in therapy because there'd be nobody to bonk. Right, there you go.
And speaking of food, how's the catering on Doctor Who?
Excellent, superb, marvellous.
What do you get to eat there?
Actually, I tend to go for their vegetarian options because they're brilliant. They do. When I was last there, they had rather like at this hotel. Brilliant. Vegetable risotto is an excellent thing because I do like my veg. Makes me fart, but it's really good stuff. That's what I tend to go for. But they have a whole variety of different things. Catering on film sets is excellent. Yeah, I mean because they don't want the artists to run off to the pub and have some pub food and get drunk and they can't come back because I have a very good lunch. So I can't say my lines in the next scene because the lunch was, So they do the catering so that we don't run away. Yeah.
How much of the budget do you think just goes into the catering?
Oh, I have no idea. Not much because we actually have to pay for some of it. Oh, really? Yeah. When we're actually at the studios, we have to contribute towards it. Silly money, really. I mean, I think it's £4 for lunch and £2 for breakfast. So we're not talking about bankruptcy here, but clearly they must get some return. But I don't know what the catering budget. That's a very interesting question. Why are you... See, a thin person interested in food.
I love food.
I think, don't get me wrong, I think everybody loves food, but as I say, some people think I eat different food than I actually do. But there you go. And don't get me wrong, if I meet friends and we go out for a meal somewhere, of course I'm going to go and enjoy myself. But generally at home, I'm vegetarian, and I drink water more, and I also drink what I call a fizz-bang, which is a redoxon vitamin C tablet in a pint of water. And I call it a fizz-bang because I generally have it for breakfast. You drop it in, it goes fizz, 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 and then bang, I'm awake. So there you go. It's delicious, delightful, and marvellous.
So, this is probably a question that you get so many times, but who is your favourite doctor?
Patrick Troughton. I say that because he is my favourite doctor, and and Matt Smith is my special doctor because I got to work with him. But also, I think Matt Smith has kept an element of Patrick Troughton in his portrayal. I haven't discussed it with Matt, so I don't know whether that is true or not. But I've seen, when we were working, and I've also seen when you actually watch the programme, I think, oh, yes, that reminds me of Patrick Troughton. He hasn't got his penny whistle, of course, but so Patrick Troughton. But I love them all. Love them all. And now I'm on this circuit and I get to meet them all. I've met all the surviving doctors except Christopher Eccleston. And they're all delightful. And it's very weird. Sat at my table, Colin Baker walking by, and I'll go, "Morning, Simon!" And I'm thinking, my God, I was watching him on television. Yeah. It's very strange.
Do you get to hang out with the other Doctor Who actors just in your personal life, like outside of conventions and stuff?
One or two. There's Neve McIntosh I meet and chat to, and Frances Barber when she's not swanning off around the world doing her Julius Caesar. Yeah, so those are the two that I keep in contact mostly. But I talk to them all, and one or two. Dan Starkey is a Facebook friend. So if he has a question, he'll ask me a question via Facebook. But we're all quite busy doing different things. And so in some ways, it's rather nice to have these conventions to meet up. And we have a natter. And this time round, I've really bonded with Ian McNeice. We were in, where were we? Yes, we were in Melbourne last week. And the setup of how people come to us, they go to some information desk and say, we want to get a signed photo from Ian McNeice. So they hand over their money and they get a voucher. But quite a lot of people came to me with Ian McNeice's voucher. And there was one example. There was a chap, his name was Cameron, I remember. I was sat next to Dan Starkey, and this Cameron said to Dan, "Oh yes, and can you give me this quote? Can you say grenades? And write grenades." So he then came to me and I said, "Oh, which quote would you like from me?" And he said, "Jaw, jaw, not war, war." So I looked at him, I said, "I think you need him next door." So it was I'm thinking of getting a T-shirt that says, "I am not Ian McNeice." But it's all right, it's good fun. But Ian's absolute delight to talk to. He's 10 or 12 years older than me, so he's got vast more experience with wonderful, lovey stories, as we say. So I feel we've bonded. So it's very good.
Now, with my research, I found that you attended drama school and you were mentored by Denholm Elliott. What was that like?
Yes, for those who don't know Denholm Elliott, Google him. And of course, in my day, of course, there wasn't Google. I had to go to a very funny building called a library. That's how you learnt things. Yeah, Google up there. He's an English actor, very, very well known. And when you see his picture, you will know him as well. But he was the patron of my college, and he took a shine to me, but he told me that people would probably not take me seriously until I was about 40. And for our year, he gave us all a farewell gift, and my gift was a makeup box with a starter kit in it. It was absolutely brilliant. But having said that nobody would take me seriously, I sort of left the college thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to get any work. So consequently what I did was I accepted whatever was offered. And so as a result now, I have a very, very broad CV that covers the whole spectrum of the industry, from panto to Shakespeare. And then I've done it all, really, and I've done some audio stuff more recently, and I've got involved with web series and all sorts of things. So it's really, really good. And when I started out, the thinking was, no, darling, you have to specialise. You've got to have a speciality. Well, all those specialists are unemployed now, because what they want are people who are versatile, who can turn up, learn their lines, and don't bump into the furniture. Yeah, that's it.
Is there any props or costumes that you've taken from set from any productions that you've been in?
I've not taken anything. I don't lift at all. But some productions allow me to have the costume. For example, I did a pilot recently for a new BBC series called Puppy Love, and in fact that's where this came from. This fleece was... they let me keep the fleece, but they'll probably want it back now because the BBC have given green light for it to go to series. So we're filming that next year with a view to it being broadcast in autumn 2014. So yeah, I tend to be offered stuff, but I never lift anything. We've got 5 minutes on that left, apparently. Is that 5 minutes then? Beep, 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 beep.
Sorry, I was whispering. I'm supposed to talk broadly, yes. The microphone's over there.
Yeah.
5 minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we might have to wrap it up.
Right, 5 minutes. Does this mean we've now got to speak very, very quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fire away. Question.
Okay. Let's see. I think I've gone through everything on here. Oh, no. Here's another thing. I found out that you enjoy singing comedy songs, from Gilbert and Sullivan to Cole Porter and Flanders and Swan, who I don't know who any of them are. But do you think you can give us a demo of some
Right.
of the comedy songs?
Google them. Right, I'll tell you. Flanders and Swan, they were a sort of double act. They were referred to as quintessential Englishmen. One had polio and went around in a wheelchair. The other was a brilliant pianist. And they wrote songs generally about animals. And some of them became very world famous. I mean, there was the hippopotamus song where the chorus is mud, mud, glorious mud, nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious mud. Oh God, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, so there we go. So, and there's a canoe song, and there's an elephant song. All very, very sad. Yes, and you don't know who Gilbert and Sullivan are? Oh, for God's sake! Have I gone into a parallel universe? Yes.
Let's research.
Yes. Oh, there's a lot of googling going on. Oh no. Sorry. You can work out. You can look up Gilbert and Sullivan. You must know HMS Pinafore. I am the very model of a modern major general. I have information, animal and vegetable and mineral. I know the kings of England and quote facts historical, from Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical.
I've heard that before, but I've only heard that before because I saw a previous interview where you did that.
Oh! Swine. Okay. So you were the one who watched it. Okay, fine. Right, next.
Yeah, I was the one viewer.
Yes. Oh, Lordy. I mean, because that is another thing I get to be asked all the time to, could you do a little video thing for our website or for our club or whatever? So instead of doing 30 or 40, I've now decided to do my own vlogs, as they're called. And and then people can either edit it or keep it, depending on what they want for their site. So are our 5 minutes up yet?
2 minutes.
Okay, so with the 2 minutes going, I shall give you the final line. Yes. All right. It's all still waiting for you. The fields of Trenzalore, the fall of the 11th, and the question. The first question, hidden in plain sight. The question you've been running from all your life. Doctor Who. Doctor Who. Doctor Who.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Marvellous. Absolutely. And thank you for doing research. It actually is one of the best interviews I've done in a long time. So you are watching Tylor TV. Dun, dun, dun.
Awesome. Thank you for the interview.